Chapter 3, March, Major 3rd. March 1st, I learned to tune a guitar by ear. That method has served me pretty well. Charlie Pride. This is not only a great skill to have in your bag of tricks as a musician, but can easily trickle out into everyday life to help with navigating the world around us. First off, learning to tune a guitar by ear allows you to place yourself in any musical situation and not only put your guitar in a tune, but help others put themselves in a tune. If you don't have a chromatic tuner or any digital electronic tuner or cell phone that has internet capability on it readily available, then you will be SOL as far as being able to play something that sounds good by yourself or with others. So this gives everyone and every instrument the ability to sound good. Secondly, by being able to put your instrument in tune, it can be a metaphor for putting yourself in tune. If we are able to recognize what pushes our buttons or what could throw us out of our normal routine and keep calm amidst the ever-changing nature of life, then we will be able to adapt to situations in a more level-headed, under control, peaceful way rather than acting out of control, more reactive like we're about to blow a fuse and have a public meltdown. By keeping our reaction to situations that aren't ideal under control, we show others what it means to stay calm under pressure, be able to go with the flow and not let it ruin our day. This can be a great example for children to see as well as other adults who aren't able to rein it in, so to speak. Everyone around you will be more in harmony, just like the strings on a guitar, and will be able to function properly as well as accomplish great things as a result. March 2nd. I think a guitar solo is how my emotion is most freely released because verbal articulation isn't my strongest communication strength. My wife thinks that I should do interviews by listening to the questions and playing the answer on guitar. David Gilmour. You might just be onto something, Mr. Gilmour. Playing our emotions on an instrument may get our point across better than using actual words because you can really feel what is being portrayed through the music. Similar to, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it with guitar. It is not just what you play, but how you play it. Let's be honest here. When you're listening to a song that has no lyrics, more has to be done in the execution of the various melodies happening on musical instruments to accurately portray the emotion behind the song. And words are in a song, the music doesn't necessarily have to be as emotive as the singer of the song makes up for that, and then some. All in all, sometimes the best thing we can do is communicate in nonverbal ways like leading by example, facial expressions, body language, and even silence. If we try to give an answer in an area we don't know, we might end up putting our feet in our mouths, speaking out of turn, and making ourselves out to be a lot less smarter than we actually are. So why not let our actions speak louder than our words and the music do the same? March 3rd. I was put on this earth to play guitar and write songs. Noel Gallagher. To believe this with your whole heart and soul is really saying something not only about your self-confidence, but about your self-awareness. If you are in that tune, pun intended, to this powerful, inspirational, and meaningful endeavor, such as learning, playing, and creating music, especially on guitar, then kudos to you for discovering that about yourself. It doesn't matter when you find this out, just as so long as you do find it out. We are all given gifts, talents, and skills in our tool bag to use throughout life. It is our responsibility and our best interest to bring them to light, create goodness from them, and eventually give them away for the betterment of society long term. Let us all be so lucky to find them early on in life so that we can spend most of it doing wonderful things with them. You never know who you may benefit or what others may learn from what you create. March 4th. Sometimes the nicest thing to do with a guitar is to just look at it. Tom York. Although I agree with this to some extent, I believe there is a place for almost everyone on the guitar. Face value, would you want someone to play a guitar at first who is uncoordinated, not strong enough to hold it, or too immature to know the depth of this wonderful instrument? No. However, maybe playing the guitar will help that person become more coordinated, stronger, and have more awareness, therefore gain more wisdom about the instrument and life itself. The guitar is an instrument meant to be played, not just hung up on the wall as a decorative piece or an item to brag about when someone comes over your house. Now, if anyone is thinking about smashing a guitar, then that is a different story. Maybe we should keep that person away from them in order to preserve the beauty as well as the future sounds, melodies, and harmonies to come. March 5th. Guitar is a lot like life. It can be strummed gently or you can play it furiously. Either way, all the resonance is temporary. Jason Edward Schiffman. I absolutely love this quote as it's so true. Life, just like guitar, can be lived or played in many different ways. We can choose to go at it with everything we have, full steam ahead, making our presence known and leaving our mark on it, a legacy, if you will. We can choose to take it slow, easing our way through life, or playing our instrument gently, barely making an audible sound that we were here. We could do a combination of both, playing or living furiously at times and calmly or at peace at other times. Or we can be anywhere in between both ends of the spectrum, but at the end of the day, the resonance is temporary. Guitar will only ring out for so long after the last note or chord is played, just like our lives will only echo for so long after we pass on from this earth. Sure, our loved ones will remember us. And how many generations down will that last? It's not to say our lives are insignificant, because they are not, yet it is something to think about to put things in perspective, humbling and inspiring all at once. March 6th. I don't care how famous a guitarist is, there's always somewhere to go. You never learn everything on that guitar. David Edwards. This is a good rule of thumb for life in general and not just on guitar. We could say, I don't care how intelligent a person is, or I don't care how good of a plumber a person is. There's always somewhere to go, and you never learn everything there is to know about plumbing or interject any other area of life here. Life ought to be a continual learning process, growing more each day, discovering something new about either yourself or the world around you. This is the real takeaway, being open to learning more. Unfortunately, not everyone is. We really owe it to ourselves to be open. Otherwise, we are not just staying stagnant, but actually falling behind everyone around us who is open to it. March 7th. My guitar only has 5 strings because the top one broke and I decided not to put it back on. When I play chords, I only play bar chords, and the top one always used to cut me there. Brian Eno. Sometimes in life, we have to work around something that is bothering us or causing us harm. As Ryan Holiday writes, the obstacle is the way. This obstacle could very well provide a new way of doing things, a new way to look at something, a new route home, etc. This is exactly what Brian did with his guitar string. He just did without it. To some, this might not make much sense. Why wouldn't he just restring that particular string and work with all 6 strings moving forward? Maybe that would have been the most rational and reasonable thing to do. But had he not tried to work without it, he might not have discovered his own unique style of playing with 5 strings instead. In one way, it simplifies things for him on the instrument. He only has to worry about playing notes, scales, and chords on 5 strings instead of 6. I'm sure it's allowed him to try out different kinds of chord shapes and sounds as a result, too. You never know how something will be, look, or sound unless you take the leap of faith and try for it. Go for it today. March 8th. Guitar is easy. All it takes is 5 fingers, 6 strings, and 1 asshole. Keith Richards. As harsh and as crude as this quote is, there's a lot of truth to it. All cursing aside, Keith is talking about how simple the act of playing guitar is when looking at a face value from an outsider's perspective. After all it takes is 1 hand of fingers to hold 6 strings down, 1 hand to strum the guitar, 6 strings, and 1 person to play the strings in such a way as to create beauty and magic with it. He uses the word easy. I would replace it with the word simple because it's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. Some may argue that this is just wordplay or semantics, yet choosing the right words is essential to conveying the actual message or idea you are trying to convey at any given moment. March 9th. But that guitar is the perfect companion to the human voice. You rest it against your gut, against your heart, and then when you strum it, the vibrations go outwards for all to hear, but the vibration also hits you on your body. Jason Mraz. Being a guitarist, I'm a bit biased towards this keen observation. When you play guitar, the simple act of holding it against your body, chest, makes it so that every time you strum, pluck, or pick, the music and sound resonates against and within your body. At the same time, it resonates outward for the rest of the world to appreciate and enjoy. What other instrument can you hug and play at the same time? I can't think of any other than possibly the harp, if it's a smaller size one. Since our voice is within our bodies, it's only fitting that singing be compared to playing the guitar as well. So let us remember to continue playing the guitar and singing in the same breadth and depth. One is an instrument built inherently with human beings, and the other is embraced with playing in such a way so as to resonate within our souls. March 10th. I was interested in folk music, but rock represented power. I became the best rock guitarist in my school, Billy Squire. Interesting change of genre there, Billy. Even though you were initially interested in folk music, that was just a stepping stone for getting into what you really wanted, rock. The main difference between being louder, distorted guitars, usually an angrier storyline of lyrics in rock, as opposed to the well-thought-out, methodical storytelling, under-control acoustic nature that is most folk music. However, with this said, I would argue that there is power in both folk and rock music. Each has its own gravitational pull and positive attributes, attracting the right crowd, if you will. And there is a genre of music called folk rock. So enough people, aka musicians, who couldn't help but combine these two great styles into one. In a sense, it's the best of both worlds. You get to rock and roll with generally louder music and tell great stories through your songs. What's not to like about that? The fact that Billy used the rock represented power as to become what he feels is the best rock guitarist in the school is just icing on the cake. March 11th. Nothing is more beautiful than a guitar, except possibly two. Frederick Chopin. Ain't that the truth, Frederick? One could argue that nothing is more beautiful than insert any musical instrument or really anything that brings joy here, except possibly two. I would have to agree with the guitar, though. It's such a beautiful instrument. Formerly a tree out in nature, a guitar is carefully carved, shaped, built, strung, and tuned for our enjoyment. That enjoyment first comes in its inherent aesthetic beauty. The enjoyment then moves its way into its inherent audio beauty. If you are lucky enough to have one that not only looks good but produces beautiful music without having to try too hard, then you're in good shape and flying high, so to speak. Let us remember that the next time we are having a less than ideal day, if we have nothing else, at least we have a beautiful musical instrument in the form of a guitar. Having two is just icing on the cake. March 12th. There's a weird period of learning how to play guitar where your fingers are constantly messed up a handful. Jason Reeves. Yep, I remember those days. The days when I first started playing where I had to build up the calluses in my fingertips for pressing down strings to actually produce music rather than muffled sounds. I started on acoustic guitar, which is more difficult at first because the frets are wider and the strings are thicker than that of an electric guitar. It sounds crazy, but I used to play until my fingers literally bled. Even then, I wouldn't stop all the time. Pushing through the pain. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. All of these essentially say the same thing. And on the other side of pain is nothing but beauty, goodness, and love. Isn't that what we do throughout life anyway? Push through hardships, struggles, trials, and tribulations in order to create goodness, beauty, and express love around us? Beauty and goodness, like love, always finds a way to triumph in the end. Love is stronger than and more powerful than hate. March 13th. The guitar is the easiest instrument to play and the hardest to play well. Andres Segovia. Although I get the sentiment behind this quote, the guitar is not the easiest instrument to play by any means. For me, most percussion instruments, the ukulele or the kazoo that come before the guitar, as easiest instruments to play goes. Most congas, bongos, egg shakers, tambourines, maracas are easier to play than guitar is, yet are hard to play well creatively and in time with other instruments. This just goes to show that even though something appears to be or is easy to do at first, it doesn't mean that it will continue to be the easy over the long run. This shouldn't discourage us from pursuing whatever it is we are pursuing. It just means that it is an obstacle, a challenge for us to push through or overcome to prove to ourselves that we can do it. It will give us a sense of confidence and teach us about perseverance. These are all great characteristics to have in our arsenal, only benefit us throughout life. March 14th. Since I can't read music and everything, I find out that I do the best when I just listen to where I'm trying to go with it and where it can go and not try to rush it. Stevie Ray Vaughan. This is exactly what we ought to be doing with everything in our daily lives anyway. If we take our time, truly listen, pay attention to what's going on around us, and use all other miscellaneous information given to us by the universe, we can make the best, most informed decisions all the time. Of course, this is a lot easier said than done. Our ego tends to get in the way and shake things up a bit. Only when we are able to remove our ego from the room and not rush do we end up making the most out of every situation that arises. In essence, we are simplifying the process and not cluttering it up with too much of our own thoughts or ideas, but rather what is truly best, not only for ourselves, but for everyone else around us. So Stevie, keep on doing what you're doing with your songwriting process. The beauty that you create has been, is, and will continue to be inspiring and encouraging to all who listen to it. March 15th. The guitar part is the pit of everything we do. So if we change the guitar part, you no longer have what it is. Robin Trower. It's so true. If you change the foundation of anything, the entire entity inevitably changes and becomes something totally different. For instance, if you change the foundation of a house, the entire house will look and feel different at the very least, if fall to the ground at the very worst. If you change the foundation of a song, an example, the guitar is the main instrument being played, the song will transform itself into something else. It could become a ballad if it's initially written as an upbeat pop song. It could become country instead of R&B. It could be in a totally different musical key with a completely different feel than initially composed. Is this okay? Sure it is. It's just a reminder that once you change something so pivotal about anything, that thing will change. Don't expect it not to. If you do, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're in for a rude awakening or an unwelcome surprise. March 16th. The guitar is a wonderful instrument which is understood by few. Franz Schubert. This is akin to the idea that the older we get as human beings, the less we really know. It's only true if we're being honest with ourselves about how we interact with people and things in the world. Although we may have much life experience, it doesn't always bode well in certain situations over the course of our lives. For instance, terminology we've used in the past to diffuse combative or aggressive people could be seen as racist, discriminatory, or even downright mean in the future. In other words, we need to constantly update our operating systems, if you will, and be as current as possible with the lingo or jargon. Otherwise, we might create more enemies than friends when that isn't our intention. Franz is saying something similar to this with the guitar. It is a wonderful instrument, but the more you dig deeper into it, the more complex and challenging it can get if you let it. An example, learning rare scales and progressions, interesting time signatures, and difficult genres like jazz. In the end, for me, it's about keeping things simple, both in life and on the guitar. March 17th. I'm not trying to play the guitar, I'm trying to play music. Michael Hedges. Very wise, Michael, very wise. When we are able to fully dive into something, we go beyond where we thought we could. Essentially, we are surpassing our initial judgment of a situation, person, or experience. This is what Mr. Hedges is hinting at here when he says, I'm not trying to play the guitar, I'm trying to play music. He's going past the face value idea of playing the guitar, even if he is actually playing the guitar. He is yearning for something more than just playing the guitar. He's trying to create beauty. He sees it as trying to play music, which is what inherently happens when you play the guitar. In other words, he's looking at the act of playing guitar as the act of playing music instead. You can make music in so many different kinds of ways, playing actual instruments, creating house-made instruments, using homemade items like spoons or sticks in the yard, that he doesn't want to limit guitar playing to just guitar playing in the traditional sense. It's much deeper than that. Maybe he's playing the guitar like a drum by knocking on it in between strums. Maybe he's playing harmonics on it to create more of a meditative feel to it. Maybe he's using a bow on it and playing it like a violin instead of a guitar. March 18th. Life is like a guitar and the combination of chords are called moments. Playing them is called living the moments. Vikram. I absolutely love this metaphor. In fact, it's in my top 5 metaphors of all time now. Life is very much a guitar, isn't it? There are so many different combinations of not only chords, but notes, scales, melodies, and harmonies on the instrument. We can most certainly think of them as moments, as Vikram so eloquently puts it. Playing the guitar, much like playing the game of life, is fully embodying those moments, playing and or living them in real time, one after the other. When we're able to do this, we create beauty for us and for the world around us. In one sense, it is our duty to fulfill this important role of creating beauty to inspire and encourage ourselves and everyone else we cross paths with to spark or continue the positive domino effect for generations to come. So keep on playing those moments on the guitar and in life. March 19th. The guitar is a miniature orchestra in itself. Ludwig van Beethoven. You got that right, Ludwig. The same thing can be said for any string instrument for starters because they have multiple strings. Each string can produce unique sounds, melodies, scales, harmonies on their own, and when combined with other strings, produce brand new sounds, melodies, scales, and harmonies. So it can be a one-man band, if you will, in addition to a 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece, and so on and so forth, with adding more strings and layers to the mix. Thank you for this wonderful quote, kind sir. It allows us to visualize what a miniature orchestra would look and even sound like. Not only that, but it helps us to see the instrument and music for that matter in a totally new light. By doing this, it opens our minds and ears up to new possibilities and creative ideas for playing and using this wonderful string instrument. March 20th. I can communicate far better on guitar than I can through my mouth. Jimmy Page. It's like the old saying, actions speak louder than words. What we do means and goes a lot further than what we could ever say. I believe what Jimmy is talking about here is the fact that he is able to express himself more fully and clearer on the guitar than he can with talking. I would have to agree with this, as there are so many ways one can express themselves in this wonderful instrument. Finger tapping, finger picking, regular strumming, harmonics, pull-offs, hammer-ons, sliding, slap guitar, playing solos, scales, harmonies, and melodies, playing in different genres at different tempos by yourself or with other people at home, at a massive arena, at your local church, and everywhere in between. You can even use the guitar as a personal percussion instrument, and in Jimmy's case, he used a violin bow on it at times. In doing so, you could change the whole dynamic of the sound and what we as human beings thought we could do on the guitar. It opens up our eyes and minds to a whole new world of possibilities and allows us to communicate what we are feeling inside without words. Truly amazing and a beautiful gift. March 21st. My big fear was that my guitar would go out of tune. Bob Dylan. Yeah, I can understand that one, sir. I find that I spend more time tuning my guitar than playing it in the summer. But that just has to do with the heat and humidity warping the wood on the guitar, which impacts the strings since they are connected to the instrument. And since Bob played and still plays in front of big audiences, you need your instrument to be in tip-top shape and tuning so that it is not only pleasing to your ears, but to their ears as well. Plus, I know from experience that when my guitar is out, it's harder for me to sing in tune because my ear goes to matching the instrument. So if the guitar is out, my voice will be slightly out as a result. Therefore, making the whole experience of playing and performing not as fun for the performer and the listener alike. Being a musician who performs live, you need all the help you can get when you're live because you have to battle with people talking, sounds from other instruments, sounds from the general environment around you. An example, planes, cars, and trains going by, ambulances blowing their sirens, dogs barking, people clanging glasses or dropping their personal items, phones going off, etc. March 22nd. I've got holes in my guitar. Dick Dale. I'm not sure what Dick actually means with this quote, which is why I selected it to be part of this book. To me, this really leaves it up to your own imagination and personal interpretation. In my opinion, I've got holes in my guitar is an observation about the guitar being played so much it has literal holes in it from using it over many years. It's like a badge of honor saying that my guitar has battle scars because it is played so much with a lot of force. Another way to look at it is it's traveled many miles over a long period of time. I like to think of it as Willie Nelson's guitar. He could buy any guitar he wants at this point in his life, but he prefers the one that has holes in it. There's something awesome about that. For someone else, it can mean that he's purposefully made holes in the guitar to create more of a resonance from inside the instrument outwards. For others, it could mean just the sound hole that is already built into acoustic guitars. What do you think Dick means? March 23rd. Guitar comes more out of its limitations for me, like putting it in a weird tuning and then just go places. Sam Emiden. You're so right, Sam. Guitar, any musical instrument for that matter, comes out of its limitations. There are only 12 notes to work from in music, so talk about a small finite number with which to operate. For me, this is what's so interesting and challenging. To be able to come up with interesting, unique, and dynamic sounds with only 12 notes time and time again is nothing short of a miracle. One would think that all of the music that is able to be created has already been created, but such is not the case. There are millions of original songs written and released every year still, and more to come. Some have lyrics, some don't. Some are written in standard tuning, some are in drop C tuning. Some have full band instrumentation or full orchestra arrangements, and some are just on acoustic guitar. And so many other combinations in between. When you break it down like this, the possibilities seem endless, even living within a 12-note range. Pretty amazing. Let's keep on creating because you never know when and where the music will strike and what beauty will come of it for you and the world around you to enjoy. March 24th. I was the drunk rhythm guitarist who wrote all these weird songs. Robert Smith. The fact that Robert sees himself as a drunk rhythm guitarist is interesting. If being the drunk rhythm guitarist produces the amount of quality hit songs that he did, then sign me up, minus the being drunk part. In many ways, I see myself as rhythm guitarist as well, so I resonate with this self-assessment. I'm not sure if I agree with these weird songs, as he puts it. The most popular songs he wrote didn't seem weird to me. They just seemed like 80s and early 90s pop songs with their own unique sound to them. The lyrics are interesting and the melodies are fun and catchy. That doesn't seem weird to me. Those characteristics are the major reasons why society enjoyed their songs when they were written in their prime and still enjoy them to this day. To have music in your repertoire where people are still singing them 30 years later, you have to know that you've created something special. If there's any advice I can give to the current and next generation of singer-songwriters, stay true to yourself and keep on writing from the heart. Keep on writing weird songs. March 25th, if you play acoustic guitar, you're the depressed, sensitive guy, Elliott Smith. Coming from an emo musician, I once considered myself emo in a former musical life, but isn't all music emotional? Who is a sensitive person? It's easy to see why Elliott would feel this way. However, I respectfully disagree with the depressed part of this quote, and here's why. Playing guitar, and playing any type of music for that matter, inherently makes the person playing it feel good. You might be depressed before you play, but certainly not while you play, and most certainly not right after you play, because the feel-good chemicals and hormones in your brain and body are lighting up like fireworks when in the act of playing and performing. So a perfect way to combat depression would be to play, practice, and perform all day long. Now, I know that would take a lot of energy and focus to do, but it is possible. And I know it's not great to take a passion, hobby, or career and turn it into an obsession or addiction, but it's better than the alternative, a state of depression, which without being treated properly can easily turn to despair and in too many cases, death by suicide. Therefore, it is in our best interest to try different activities out to see what works best for us in constructive, sustainable, and positive ways. For me, playing music has been that way to help me through some of the most difficult times in my life. It has been a gift and a therapy I can use and lean on at a moment's notice every day. You don't have to be the depressed, sensitive person anymore. With the right environment, both internal and external, you can be a positive, impactful, powerful, sensitive person just the same. March 26th. Guitar playing is both extremely easy for me and extremely difficult for me at the same time. Kirk Hammett. How can something be extremely easy and extremely difficult at the same time? Face value, it doesn't make much sense. But when you dig deeper, this most certainly can and will happen. For instance, it may be easy to play an E minor chord. You only need two fingers placed on the same fret on strings right next to each other on its own. But to play several chords in a row, changing time signatures, changing genres, or soloing can prove to be quite difficult. This is especially the case if all of these happen in the same song. And the same idea can be applied to other areas of life. It may be easy to spell the word ant, but to spell the word triumphant, which has the word ant in the word, can be quite difficult. I love that Kirk acknowledges this simultaneous easy and difficult nature as it pertains to something he's obviously very good at. It shows he is open and willing to learn more, and this is a great way to continue becoming a better version of yourself every day in everything you do. March 27th. Technically, I'm not a guitar player. All I play is Truth and Emotion, Jimi Hendrix. Well, Jimmy, if what you played was Truth and Emotion, then boy, did you play a lot of both very well. It's an interesting observation to be made by arguably the best guitarist of all time. Many consider him a genius on the instrument and a musician ahead of his time. He used the guitar in different ways, playing behind his head, playing with his teeth, and messing around with the wah-wah pedal, which was a new thing when he was alive. There's something special about the way he describes making music as truth and emotion. This is exactly what creating music in life is to me, the interpretation of the truth about whatever situation, experience, or scenario is happening in life, coupled with melodies, harmonies, and any other extraneous sounds and noises expressing that truth for one or more emotions. To put it more simply, music is the embodiment of truth and emotion. You have to feel what you are playing, and the best way to feel what you are playing is to write and express yourself about what is happening in your life and or the world around you. It is personal, and if it isn't directly personal in the outset, it becomes personal very quickly. March 28th. My interests are guitars, cars, and vacation. I've been playing guitar all my life. My dad was a professional guitarist. I just play for myself. Josh Hartnett. Great first interest there, Josh. This is one of the great things about guitar as well. No one says you have to take it to the next level and become a touring musician, recording artist, professional guitarist. You can just enjoy it for what it is, playing and having fun at your leisure and for your own enjoyment. It can be a hobby that you do to pass the time, help you relax, and or create beauty. It doesn't have to be this thing that becomes any more than that. I love seeing quotes like this because it is a reminder to us all that we can just enjoy something for what it is. We don't have to turn it into something so serious. We can apply this to anything in life we see as a hobby, something that gives us joy, and come back to it whenever the wind blows in that direction. March 29th. Guitars have been the obsession of my life. I first picked up one at the age of 4, and I've been a guitar junkie ever since. Johnny Marr. Amazing that Johnny discovered his passion at the age of 4 and is still pursuing it today. Most people aren't that lucky to find what it is they are truly passionate about until much later in life. And there are some who never find it at all. I don't blame him for being so excited to share about this either, because once I discovered the guitar at 16, playing music, especially in the guitar, has become a passion of mine. I wouldn't say that it's an obsession strictly on the guitar, but making music in general is. And I would go so far to say that the guitar is more of a healthy obsession than a lot of other things. What are you passionate about that others might see as an obsession? March 30th. My life has been a roller coaster ride, but somehow I've always been able to land on my feet and still play the guitar. Ace Frehley. Life is very much a roller coaster ride, right? We experience highs and lows, triumphs and setbacks, joys and sorrows, if you will. Sometimes life feels like it's moving crazy fast, like a million miles an hour. Other times life moves at a snail's pace. That's the beauty of life, though. We never know what every day is going to bring, and that can be the great adventure or journey for us if we choose to look at it that way. For me, I find it best to view life in this way rather than go into situations as a cynic or negative Nancy. Why? Because it is very easy to look at the world and think that it's out to get us or get you. So many things don't go the way we plan them in our heads. So we can let that ruin our day, or we can think to ourselves, wow, that isn't what I expected, but it turned out better than how I would have done it. I love that even though things might seem out of control, chaotic, the guitar and music as well can bring us back down to earth, help recenter our inner state of being, and provide us with a sense of all is right in the world. Speaking from experience, it is so true. Way to go for bringing these two ideas together, Ace. March 31st. Life without happiness is like a guitar without strings. Anonymous. I couldn't agree more. In life, we will most certainly have struggles, challenges, obstacles. These are the parts of life that might not be the most enjoyable, but we push through them. And pursuing them and pushing through them, we persevere and come out on the other side stronger and more resilient. However, there are plenty of joyous moments. The birth of a baby, doing well in an exam, finishing medical school, playing that first show, getting a promotion at work, getting married, starting your own business, and so on and so forth. It is in our best interest to focus more on the beautiful, enjoyable parts of life rather than turn our attention to the hardships, trials, and tribulations. These seemingly negative parts of life help us become a better version and truly appreciate the good times, so they aren't necessary. But we need not dwell on them, for they can easily take us down the slippery slope of stress, anxiety, and burden, making our mental state questionable. Some may say that life might not be worth living if happiness isn't in it. It's hard to argue with that. Continued happiness breeds hope that things will be like this today, tomorrow, and always. If we are ever to lose hope, this is where depression turns into apathy, despair, and even self-destruction. Happiness is key. And relating this to a guitar without strings, the guitar is a beautiful work of art in and of itself. Wood-shaped and handcrafted in many shapes, sizes, and colors. Have your pick. There's a plethora of styles to meet your needs, and if none do, you can always have one custom made just for you. Beautiful as they may be on their own, I'm very much of the opinion that we ought to be using this instrument to create even more beauty through the performance of notes, scales, chords, melodies, and harmonies. It shouldn't be just decoration on the wall to brag to family and friends when they come over. It shouldn't just be collecting dust in the corner. If it was, that would truly be a shame and a mismanagement of a wonderful instrument and gift. Music is a gift. Someone in the world who really wants to play guitar but can't afford one could play the one you have. What does this have to do with a guitar that doesn't have any strings? It's essentially the same thing. You have a wonderful instrument at your fingertips, pun intended, but it is not being used. Similarly, a guitar without strings cannot be played in the traditional way, since there are no strings to play to create beautiful music. Life without happiness is like a guitar without strings. Although both are beautiful, they cannot be played and enjoyed to their fullest potential.